California Governor Gavin Newsom is warning of, quote, drastic action as coronavirus infections surge. The state is the most populous in the U.S., with around 40 million people, and has seen record infections in recent weeks. State officials confirmed more than 14.8 thousand new cases in the past 24 hours. Hospitalizations in the state have increased nearly 90% in the last 2 weeks. Governor Newsom warns that if the trend continues, hospitalizations could double or even triple in just 1 month. Jeremy White joins me now. He co-writes the California Playbook for Politico. Jeremy, welcome. You know, these numbers are so dire. California had a surge of cases in the summer, but they appeared to subside in September and October. So why are cases back up again?
There's a variety of reasons, some of them having to do with what we have long expected with a likely additional surge coming in the winter. We are in ways seeing some of the after effects of the state having lifted various restrictions in the preceding months. But in a lot of ways, we're sort of back where we started, which is with officials warning that without potentially drastic measures, we could see hospitals overwhelmed. And so the governor signaled pretty clearly this week that California could indeed be heading to another stay-at-home order like we saw back in March. The governor has already issued a nighttime curfew and pulled essentially the entire state's population back into the most restrictive tier. So we are really in a uniquely perilous phase of the pandemic right now, with cases increasing at an unprecedented rate. So the next couple of months could really be a test.
So let's dig into that a little bit deeper, because Governor Newsom says if the current trend continues, he may need to take, quote unquote, drastic action. I mean, you touched on it a moment ago, but what are the restrictions, Jeremy, that are in place now, and what could those so-called drastic measures look like?
So as it stands, the vast majority of counties in California, accounting for almost all of the state's population, are in the most restrictive tier, in which all sorts of business activities are either outright prohibited or are extremely curtailed to have a minimal capacity. For example, as I said, there is now a nighttime curfew, or I should say a statewide curfew, for non-essential workers between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. There are not that many tools left in the statewide toolbox at this point, short of another stay-at-home order that essentially says Californians have to remain in their homes unless they are essential workers and have to do something like go to the grocery store. We have already seen Los Angeles County go even further than other parts of the state in banning outdoor dining in addition to indoor dining. And so I think the signals are pretty clear from both elected officials and public health officials that we are in a moment of real peril here, and that may necessitate going back to where we were in March.
So Governor Newsom also says that more than 300,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine will be available in the state later this month. What more do we know about the state's distribution plan, and who will receive the vaccine first?
The state has, for a while now, been describing a sort of hierarchy of needs with the vaccine, in which the first round will go to essential workers, those who are on the front lines and most at risk, followed by sort of more vulnerable groups. And the governor has been pretty clear that even as we've gotten really unexpectedly great news about the pace and timing of this vaccine, with it becoming available this year, that we should not expect widespread distribution in a way that would really allow a return to normalcy until potentially deep into 2021. We could be looking even at late summer, depending on how many doses we're able to get out there and what distribution looks like. So inoculating a state of 40 million people is an enormous undertaking. Obviously, the 300,000 or so doses we are now expected to have this month is a good start, but only a fraction of where California needs to be. So I think coordinating that vaccine rollout and juggling with that with what looks like to be, at a minimum, enduring restrictions, if not more stringent ones in the months ahead, that's going to be the real test. It seems clear that in California, as in elsewhere, we're sort of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of a vaccine emerging, but this final stretch could be the toughest and could be the deadliest.
So the governor also announced a plan to help small businesses, and it includes $500 million in grants and temporary tax relief. Give us a sense, Jeremy, of how California's economy is doing and what small businesses are going through right now.
Sure. So California's economy has, of course, suffered quite a bit from the pandemic and related closures. It's been particularly devastating for industries like hospitality and tourism, Disneyland having to lay off thousands of workers. California tourism is a major industry. But the pain has been pretty widespread and pretty deep. Surprisingly, this year, the receipts are coming back in terms of state revenue better than folks had expected. A lot of the state's higher earners are actually weathering this crisis decently well, and the state does tend to rely a lot more on income tax to fill its budget. But there's no doubt that there's a lot of pain out there. When Los Angeles moved to end outdoor dining in addition to indoor dining, you saw a really sort of urgent plea from restaurants in LA saying this is going to be the nail in the coffin. And I think there's a lot of businesses around the state, particularly if they are looking at increasing restrictions, who wonder if they're going to be able to make it through these final few months, however long it takes to get a vaccine that allows us to return to something like normal. So this is, in addition, a big part of why California was really hoping for another federal aid package. Obviously, Congress has not really been able to get it together on that front. There is some hope that a Biden administration could make more headway there. But I think there's no doubt that there are a lot of businesses in California who are feeling pretty desperate right now. And even some tax relief or some grants of the kind that the governor rolled out, it helps. But, it's hard to overstate the amount of economic damage out there.
Yeah, and the lasting effects of that, because we know small businesses are such drivers of the economy. Jeremy White for us. Jeremy, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.